I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and today we're making the king of all blocks in this classic and vintage series. Download your free block pattern at Fat Quarter Shop. A link to the pattern is in the description box. Now let's talk about what you need to make the block. Your first fabric is going to be this light blue that goes around the edge. Your second fabric is going to be the inner star, and your third fabric is going to be your background. We're using a Sacre Bleu collection by French General for Moda fabrics, and I love that it really has that vintage flair. We recommend the Starburst Ruler by Creative Grids to make this block, and also the Creative Grids 3.5-inch square ruler. If you don't have the Starburst Ruler, there's a template on page 3 of the free pattern. The block pattern is completely free at Fat Quarter Shop. If you want to turn this into a quilt to make a table runner, small or large lap, or a queen, you can purchase the low price PDF pattern, and your fabric requirements for each of those sizes is in the full pattern. After you've gathered your pattern, your fabric, and your notions, now we can assemble this block. Now we're going to start with our fabric A, which is that light fabric that goes around the edge. You're going to take your Starburst Ruler, and on the 5.5-inch line, which is actually the white line, you're going to put that at the very top of your fabric. And since we cut this strip 5.5 inches, this should be the exact same size as this. You're just going to cut on both sides of your ruler, and that's going to give you one wedge. Then you rotate your ruler 5.5 inch, which is the white line, and cut. From this strip set, you're going to make 12 wedges, and you're just going to rotate your ruler each time you cut. From your fabric C, we're going to do that same thing. Line up that 5.5-inch ruler. This is a 5.5-inch strip. Cut on both sides to get started. And this time you only need to cut 4 wedges. Now from your background strips, you're going to do the same thing. Start with the 5.5-inch line on your ruler. From each background strip set, you're going to cut 16 wedges, and since there are 2 strips, you're going to make a total of 32 wedges. So in summary, you're going to have 12 of your first fabric, 4 of your second fabric, and 32 of your background fabric. Now I'm going to show you how to make your crown units. For each of these, you're going to have 2 background fabrics and 1 print fabric. The first thing you're going to do is put 2 of them right sides together, and you want to line up, and all of this is bias. So I'm going to use 3 different pins, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine, sew with a 1/4-inch seam. So here I've sewn with a 1/4-inch seam, and you can see that stitch. Now what I want to do is I want to press this to one side. I'm going to just finger press that. Then I'm going to use the quick press seam roller, and I'm going to press this open. You just want it nice and flat. Now before I add the next wedge, I'm going to trim a little bit. So I'm going to just trim a little bit in and a little bit in. That's just going to take some of the fabric bolt out of your seam. Now that's not written in the pattern, that's just a tip from me, and that's a personal preference. You don't have to do that. Then you want to take this, and then you'll also line this up. And when you're lining it up, you want to line it up with the angle of the blue, not the cream. You're going to sew with a 1/4-inch seam, do the same pressing, and this is what your unit is going to look like. So just like we had trimmed the bulk on the previous seam, you're going to do the same thing. So you just want to trim in. It's kind of like you create a V, and then you're going to have less bulk when you start putting your point together on your block. Now we're going to take your crown unit, and I'm going to give you a tip. This is not in the pattern, this is just a tip from me. And you can see here I've lined up my seams and I've creased the center. Take a 3.5-inch square ruler, and on this diagonal line, put that on your crease. And then you want to take the 1/4-inch seam and put that right there. Cut 2 sides. Rotate your mat without moving your fabrics if possible. Cut the other 2 sides. And this is going to be your crown unit. And of course, you'll need to iron out this crease. You're going to make 12 with your print 1 and 4 with your print 2. Your print 1 is going to go around the outside of the block and your print 2 is going to go on the inside. Now we're going to take our crown units and we're going to start making the corner of our block. For each of those, you need 3 of your fabric 1s, 1 of your fabric 2s, 1 fabric B square, which is your fabric 1, and 4 fabric E rectangles, which is your background. So from here, you're going to be making your crown corners. So you want your tip of your wedges facing to the outside. Make sure all of your fabric is right side up. Then you're going to sew this together like you would a normal block. 1/4 inch seams, press. I would personally press open. Your 2 remaining seams, then press open. And your crown unit should measure 8 inches square, unfinished, and I'm going to show you how that looks sewn together. These are your fabric 1 fabrics, and this is your fabric 2. You're going to make 4 of these units. So here you're going to assemble your 4 units with your fabric 2 in the center using 1/4 inch seams, but I'm going to show you some pinning techniques. Right here you want these points to match. So when you put these right sides together, you can do the poke a pin method, where you poke the pin in the point of this one and the point of this one. Make it stand up straight and do that. Do the same thing on all of your points, and when you sew with a 1/4 inch seam, it's going to be more likely to line up than if you had just laid them together. This is your King David's crown block, and it should be 15.5 inches unfinished and 15 inches finished. Now here is your quilt block. We have this set with sashing and cornerstones. We used an outer border that's the same background as the block, a dark binding, and a really pretty, beautiful, soft backing. The sample that I'm showing you here is the large lap that's 58 by 75. The King David's crown block is definitely doable if you follow our free pattern, and if you just take it step by step, you can definitely do it. I would like to know what vintage block you would like us to feature in our next video. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.